Welcome back to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we're looking at homegrown businesses close up. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here on financialnewsandtalk.com with Andrea Kay, Al Arias, and our first guest, David King from the King Law Group. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Barry.
So tell us a little bit about your firm. What type of law do you practice?
I practice corporate law, which is kind of a broad term for transactional work, helping people sell their businesses, helping people set up their businesses, doing general counsel services, day in, day out, contract negotiations. I also handle business disputes between owners and try and get those resolved quickly so that the life of the business is preserved.
That's great. It looks to me like you were a CPA before you became an attorney?
I was a CPA. I practiced corporate securities law on Wall Street and in Silicon Valley. And then I've had my own shop since 2004. It's a different art being able to serve small to medium-sized businesses.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. You know, one of the things that I see a lot in my practice is, what we do is planning. We do financial planning, we do retirement planning, we do tax planning, we do all forms of planning. And we try to take it down to a level that the client can understand. The main thing that I see from your firm, which is really impressive, is the fact that you deal with your own type of planning, and that's uncommon to the law industry. Tell me how you work with setting up plans for clients once you gather a new client.
Absolutely. And the thing to remember about planning is that it has to start on day one. I can help someone efficiently plan to sell their business from the day they start their business. If someone comes in on the eve of a sale of a business and say, hey, can you quickly help me? No, there's nothing that can be done quickly on the eve of a sale except identify problems that should have been addressed earlier. So if you start on day one, you can do things right. You can walk away with more money. You can get a better price for your company and avoid all the pitfalls that might come if you wait until the last minute to finally get an attorney engaged.
Well, it seems kind of antithetical. It almost sounds like some people might say, well, why do I want to plan to sell my business if I just started my business? That's kind of like a prenup before you get married. It's like you're already planning for divorce. I mean, help me understand why you want to start thinking about selling your business when you're even just starting it, maybe.
Absolutely. It's more that you're planning for your business to be successful. If your business is going to be successful, it should survive you. And I've seen businesses where people, hand it along to their children. Often those aren't the best people to be running a business that's been developed by their family. So you want to plan for your business because if you, properly incorporate a company, that's got indefinite life. If you've built something of value, if you've created jobs for people, you want it to live on beyond you. And at some point, most people want to try to retire a little bit. Small business owners, that is a 24/7 job. There's no such thing as retiring when you're continuing to own your business and manage it yourself. So it's something that people should plan with because you're planning for your business to succeed.
Yeah, it's interesting. Something came to mind for me. I have a client that has a nice restaurant in town here. And because of divorce, you have a husband and a wife that are sitting there in a successful business, or actually ex-husband, ex-wife, that are still forced to be partners. How do you deal with clients when you come in and you see a partnership or more than two in the business? How do you deal with teaching them how to keep that business in line and make sure that everybody's goals are accomplished?
That can be one of the death knells of a business, is the fact that the partners have even if they're married or not married, they've fallen out of love with each other and they don't want to work with each other anymore. And kind of the planning to sell your company is one mindset to have because you're thinking, hey, this is going to succeed. But by doing so, by taking care of proper agreements among the owners and make sure your capitalization is proper, it takes care of all these issues. If you take care of the fact that, okay, one of us might need to buy the other out, one might, die or become incapacitated or need to move across the country, how are we going to deal with that? And you make sure you've got a good agreement in place that's going to come to a fair price, and you make sure you've got some sort of mechanism to finance the buyout so that you can keep the life of the company. Nothing kills a business worse than when two business owners go sideways with each other, start litigations.
Can't get anything done.
Can't get anything done. And it costs so much. It can really,
Yeah, right. You either got to find a good way to separate or do a reality show, right, Al?
Right? Reality. It's all about reality.
Right.
Yeah. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KFSD AM 1450 and financialnewsandtalk.com. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with my co-hosts Andrea Kay and Al Arias. If you're in business for yourself or want to be a guest on Close Up on San Diego Business, call us. We want to hear from you. You can call my office at 1-800-341-5433 or contact us via email at bwaxler@barrywaxler.com. Let us know, and we'll try to find time to get up close and personal right here on air with us. So we've been talking about helping to manage the business, buy-sell agreements. So you do buy-sell agreements as well?
I do buy-sell agreements, absolutely. That's something that anybody at the formation, if there's going to be multiple owners, you just have to plan for that, the possibility that it's going to happen. Even if the business succeeds, one of you may want to move on and do something different.
David, do you have thoughts on the choice of entity in situations that you described where there are multiple partners and, almost for certain there's going to be a falling out somewhere along the way?
For most business owners, a corporation is a better choice than a limited liability company. A limited liability company is like a kit car. You really have to tailor all the terms of it and who's in charge and that sort of thing. I've seen disputes erupt with a limited liability company that would be resolved by the general rules that are provided at law under a corporation. Then there's a question of the tax status of that corporation. Most small business owners and even most medium-sized business owners, the buyer is going to want to buy the assets of the company, not the equity. And so you need to be an S corporation, which is a flow-through tax entity which only taxed to the owners. And that way there's only one level of gain on the sale of the assets. If you have a C corporation, which is like a separately taxed entity, the corporation gets taxed on the gain in the assets, and then the shareholders get taxed again. You're going to get substantially less money on that big pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So it is crucial to pick the right form of entity for the management issues and that sort of thing, which is usually a corporation. Real estate entities can be limited liability companies. There's tax advantages to being a limited liability company. Most operating companies should be a corporation, and most businesses, unless they're going to be really big, a publicly traded company, for tax reasons, you probably want to be a flow-through entity, an S corporation.
Great. I see here that you do a lot of general practice. So when you take on a new client, typically it's a small business owner. You want to help them manage from start to finish. Do you do different types of estate work for them, the general trusts or anything to go along with the rest of your business representation?
The estate planning is something that someone should address at the time that they're setting up a company, because immediately I'll be like, well, you're going to put your stock into a trust, right? And then they'll say, well, what trust? That's one thing I don't do. So I send that out to an estate planning specialist.
Good. But you have the resources so we can get everything covered for our clients, all from one resource, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, I've got a good network of people that are specialists that when issues come up for my clients, I make sure I know the right specialist to bring in on these things.
Great. So you were a former Wall Streeter. There's such an image about you Wall Street types, so you went from the tough streets of Wall Street to an even darker world, as people joke about, by being an attorney.
Yeah.
You went from one Shark Tank to another, in other words. What made you decide to do that?
Well, I went to Wall Street to work as an attorney, and I was doing corporate securities work, and I was doing work for big established issuers like Merrill Lynch's treasury work, selling bonds in Europe and that sort of thing. And there may be a nice row of zeros there on the dollar amount of the transactions. But with a deal like that, there's not as much recreating the wheel. There's not as much creativity. You got to stick with what's been done, tried and true before. Representing a small business is an art, because you really do. They don't have a $1 billion budget, and they are coming up with something unique, and they often want to negotiate the terms. It really, I enjoy the work for small businesses and medium-sized companies so much more than just churning out the same sort of bond offering or securities offering that.
No, so you don't mind all the attorney jokes?
Not
You
at
get
all.
all-
Yeah,
oh, okay.
well, I take pride in being a corporate lawyer. Frankly, we're one brand of lawyer that really does help business and put money back into people's pocket.
It's cool just dealing with the owner. In big business, you deal with an army.
Oh, yeah. So interesting. Well, I see here that you do a lot of work with startups as well, which is part of what we've been talking about. I would love to introduce you. We've got a group that we work with called Monos Accelerator that's starting up in the Silicon Valley, but they've got entities all over the world, and it's based on technology startups in the Latino community, and they've got a lot of great people behind them. So. Let me see if I can introduce you and see if you can help out a little bit.
Absolutely, I'd love to help them.
So yeah, we have a lot of great people behind that. It's actually Jennifer Lopez's family and a number of other. It's coming in a lot into the celebrity world, so we'll do that. But,
Are there any particular types of industries you deal with more? Like, are you more geared towards manufacturing, small businesses, or service related? Does it really matter?
I've got a broad range of industry expertise. I've got a couple of little sweet spots. I help surgeons who own these ambulatory surgical centers, and they've got some unique rules they've got to comply with. I do have some high-tech clients. I've got some clients in sports. I've got some restaurant owners. But it's a hodgepodge of industries.
Yeah, that healthcare professional environment is really nasty from an income tax standpoint, and I'm curious about what you've discovered that benefits healthcare professionals in terms of lower income taxes.
Well, the doctors need to think through the flow-through aspects of income just like any other business owner does. But, yeah, they're generally in the higher rate categories here. One unique thing that all business owners can remember from doctors is they tend to have falling out quite more often than other business owners do with each other. But they always seem to have enough money to buy each other out. If there is enough money to buy out your former business partner, you will not have litigation. If you don't have enough money to buy each other out and you're fighting over how much the company's worth, that's when things typically become a dispute. So that's if you plan to how are you going to finance the buyout of your business partner, that's crucial to avoiding a dispute at the end. The taxes that doctors face, there's a lot of different things they could do. One thing, again, is going back to this S corporation. You can avoid taxes, your payroll taxes on distributions out of your S corporation. So you can set up your practice as an S corporation. If you pay yourself a reasonable salary, then that's a reasonable salary, and you only pay payroll taxes on that income. The rest you can distribute to yourself out as the owner of the company. Right. That's one thing a doctor can do.
Right, and a little bit of financial planning ahead of time to make sure that our assets there to use as we go. We're running a little short on time, getting ready to go into a break. So before we finish, David, tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you.
If you look us up online, it's www.thekinglawgroup.com. My email address is on that site, and our phone number is on there as well, 619-702-2008. We're in downtown San Diego, 707 Broadway.
Great, thanks. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with homegrown San Diego businesses and the people that are working to make a difference in our community. This is financialnewsandtalk.com, and I'm your host, Barry Waxler. We'll be right back after the break with more Homegrown Business Close Up and our next guest.